Hi, I'm Marina Sirtis, and you're going boldly with Beyond Trek podcast.
This is Beyond Trek Podcast, your source for Star Trek on social media and around the web. I'm Big J.
I'm Watney.
And I'm Dag, the Trivia Master. You can find us on Facebook at Beyond Trek Podcast and on Twitter at Beyond Trek Pod.
Red alert.
Hey guys, Big J here with Beyond Trek Podcast. So we have a prediction here that we're going to show for you. This is from Reddit user VerbotenPublish. He's had this theory for the entire first season of Star Trek Picard that I think is a pretty good one. I listened to his theory and his prediction about what's going to happen in the last episode of the first season of Picard. And I got to tell you, he makes a lot of good points here. And if he's right, this will be great. Even if it doesn't turn out being that way, what he came up with for the threads that had happened and been happening in this show, did a very good job with. So without further ado, I want you guys to listen to this prediction that we've got, and the final episode of Star Trek Picard is coming up. So let's see if he was right and got this one, because I think that he was probably correct, or at least he came to the same kind of conclusions that we did on our podcast. So here you go. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, Tony with Verboten Publishing. So I guess I had one of the earliest fleshed out lore theories for the new Star Trek Picard. And with its finale coming up this week, the Beyond Trek podcast has invited me to make a video of my theory, predicting give or take what's going to happen. So I've taken my full theory and condensed it to my favorite bits, keeping it under about 10 minutes. You can read the full version on Medium, and you can follow me on Twitter at iverboten. Please join me this Thursday in the Picard sub on Reddit, where I will either be taking my victory lap or a walk of shame. What if she's Lore's daughter and Picard is chasing the wrong android? Originally published on February 16th. From the opening scene, when I saw those synths stuffed into a storage room, something about the disposability of them screamed lore. When they revealed the insidious way the Mars attack was used to discredit Picard's advocacy of the Romulans, I knew the truth. It was personal, and there's only one android that petty. Some background: Lore was Data's evil twin brother. Introduced in the 1988 episode Data Lore, according to Star Trek canon, years later in two-part episode Descent, he was fired upon and then disassembled by Data. Lore's last words were, "I love you, brother." From this point on, it's a mystery what happened to Lore's positronic brain or his body. Why disassemble if not specifically to reassemble later? Maybe Lore used Borg tech to make himself fleshy like the Borg Queen did with Data's face in First Contact. What's another word for mythology? Lore. Did Bruce Maddox get hold of Lore's head? We all remember how anxious he was to dissect Data in The Measure of a Man. Was it Lore who he ultimately studied, given Data was completely destroyed, saving Picard at the end of Nemesis? If Maddox reactivated Lore, there is no doubt which of the two takes command. Perhaps Lore sent a kind invitation to Maddox to come work at a brand new revolutionary AI lab. A crippled cube floating in space, Borg tech, synth tech, flesh and bone androids. The only body we see is B4, and the name Lore isn't even spoken out loud. This has Lore's fingerprints all over it. Was Jurati working with Lore all along without realizing it? What better position is there from which to produce and ultimately take over the synths on Mars? Is Lore waiting on Coppelius, the synth homeworld? Are the synths Lore's attempt to resurrect his brother? Why would Data paint Lore's daughter? Lore may have just looked at the painting and modeled off it as part of his goal to discredit Picard, knowing he would be drawn into the plot by a familiar face. The reign of biological life forms is coming to an end. Lore, 2370. If Data can make a daughter, lol, then certainly Lore can make Daj and Soji. Maddox might have even helped him. Lore loved Data. He may even have mourned his passing, and now holds Picard responsible. It wouldn't be enough for Lore to kill Picard. He'd want to destroy his reputation. Kind of like making him the face of the failed Romulan rescue, perhaps? Is Lore exploiting a distracted Starfleet? And let's be fair, Starfleet is acting a lot more like a bad guy than a good guy in this new Picard series. It's a weakened, lazy, compromised institution now. Nothing has clearly explained why it betrayed Picard or its purpose to its members. Simplest explanation, lore. Perhaps he is the faceless father Soji sees in her dreams. Enter Son of Soong, Dr. Alton Inigo Soong. Somewhere in space, a vast civilization of synths offers help and protection from the organics. Is the Son of Soong just lore pretending to be someone else again? In fact, wife of Soong, Juliana O'Donnell, in Inheritance, specifically said they had no kids and that there was room in the escape shuttle for 3, but they didn't take anyone else. Dr. Alton Inigo Soong, alter ego AI Soong. My father had me, but he created data and would never let me forget it. Alton or Lore, the imposter. Building his golem, his perfect vessel, to transfer his mind to as his inferior organic body ages and dies. Lore would only tolerate an organic body so long. Maddox probably transferred Lore to flesh thinking it was safer. The post-Noonian synths were primitive models and likely inherently subservient to Lore's will. Even Data found himself in Lore's thrall more than once. Such is the diabolical cunning of this evil machine. A trickster intelligence capable of far more than just burning Mars. Consider for a moment what we know of Lore and his relationship with the Borg. He's been one of them, commanded them, manipulated them. Borg are toys for Lore's sinister ambitions. Is it such a stretch that in the new Picard series, which focuses so much on androids and Borg, that we might see Lore return at the head of some new major plot? Who else would make a fleshy Trojan horse with a controllable brain? Perhaps Mars was just a proof of concept. The largest question remaining might not be whether Lore is involved, given that seems almost inevitable, but instead, what are his current motivations? Lore has a proclivity for pretending to be someone else when he finds himself in a social structure he can manipulate. Lore has pretended to be Data. Why not alter ego Soong? Who else has not just the capability, but the means and experience working with all primary powers involved in the Picard series? Data, synths, Borg, Romulans, Starfleet, Hugh, and Picard? Who does Karma Sutra remind you of, Data or Lore? In the very first episode, they specifically discounted B4 as a legitimate inheritor of Soong's design, focusing on the idea of twins, just like Daj and Soji, just like the paintings. Lore always felt he was the superior creation, yet he loved his brother. 2 faces, 2 siblings, 2 doors. Free will. Becoming the destroyer or something better. Ultimately, this season is about choices. On Thursday, we'll find out which path Soji decides to pursue. But Lore is very persuasive, very manipulative. Has Lore built a massive force of synthetics, and will Starfleet find itself allied with the Borg under a new queen to survive? Or is Starfleet effectively under Lore's command now, too? If Star Trek Picard addresses a plotline involving Lore Unleashed, no longer restrained by Data, there is no telling where the story might go. Soji has a choice to make on Thursday. Will she walk Lore's path with Sutra? As Picard said, if you don't think you have a choice, then that's a failure of imagination. And Star Trek is all about imagining possibilities. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed writing it, and this is my Lore theory in a nutshell. So I guess we'll find out on Thursday who's right. Have a good one.